The atmosphere in the house had grown tense over the past few months. Adam, 38, a dedicated engineer with a steady career, felt something was amiss with his wife, Lisa, 35. She had always been lively, with a sharp wit and infectious laughter that drew people to her. But lately, she seemed distant. Her conversations vague, her phone always clutched tightly in her hand, and her late-night outings shrouded in mystery. One Saturday morning, as Adam sat sipping his coffee, Lisa walked into the room with a peculiar look on her face. She hesitated before sitting across from him, her hands nervously fidgeting. "Adam, there's something we need to discuss," she said, her voice uncharacteristically subdued. Adam placed his cup down, feeling a pit form in his stomach. "What is it, Lisa?" She took a deep breath, avoiding his eyes. I'm pregnant." The words should have been cause for joy, but Adam's heart sank. They had been trying for years, and each failed attempt had been devastating. Recently, though, they had agreed to stop trying and focus on building their relationship. "Pregnant?" Adam repeated, his voice laced with disbelief. "But we haven't." He trailed off, the realization hitting him like a freight train. Lisa flinched but quickly recovered. "It doesn't matter how it happened," she said hastily. "This is a blessing, Adam. A chance for us to become parents." Adam stared at her, his mind racing. "Lisa, whose child is this?" Her lips tightened, and she avoided his gaze. "Adam, does it really matter? A child is a child. I thought you'd be happy to raise it as your own." The room fell silent, the weight of her words suffocating. Adam felt a mixture of anger and heartbreak. "You want me to raise another man's child? And you expect me to just accept that without question?" Lisa's eyes hardened. "It's not just about you, Adam. This child needs a family stability. I need your support." Adam stood, his hands trembling with suppressed rage. "Whose is it, Lisa?" he demanded, his voice louder now. She stood too, her own anger surfacing. "Does it matter? You're my husband, Adam. You're supposed to love me unconditionally." He shook his head, feeling the ground beneath him shift. "I can't believe this," he muttered, storming out of the room. That evening, Adam sat alone in his car, parked a few blocks away from their house. He replayed the conversation over and over in his mind. How could Lisa betray him like this? Who was the father? And why did she think he would quietly accept such a deception? Unable to sit idle, Adam made a decision. He would find the truth no matter how much it hurt. The next day, while Lisa was out running errands, Adam began his investigation. He started with her phone, which she had carelessly left charging in the kitchen. Scrolling through her messages, he found a series of texts with someone named Ryan. The messages were damning. "Lisa, I told Adam I'm pregnant. He's suspicious, but I think I convinced him. Ryan, good. The last thing we need is for him to dig too deep. This is our child, Lisa, and he'll never know the truth." Adam's blood ran cold. Ryan. The name was familiar, too familiar. Ryan was Lisa's coworker, someone she had often mentioned but never in a way that raised alarm bells. He dug deeper, finding photos of Lisa and Ryan together at restaurants, in parks, and even a weekend getaway. The timestamps coincided with the nights Lisa had claimed to be working late or visiting friends. Adam's hands shook as he put the phone down. The betrayal was worse than he had imagined. Not only had Lisa been unfaithful, but she had also orchestrated a plan to deceive him into raising another man's child. When Lisa returned home that evening, Adam confronted her. "How long have you been lying to me?" he asked, his voice cold and steady. Lisa froze, her shopping bags slipping from her hands. "What are you talking about, Ryan?" Adam said simply. "I know everything." Her face drained of color and she stammered, "Adam, I can explain." "Save it," he interrupted, holding up her phone. "You've been cheating on me with him for months. You planned to pass off his child as mine. Do you even realize what you've done?" Tears welled up in Lisa's eyes, but Adam felt no sympathy. "I was going to tell you," she whispered. "You lied to me every step of the way," Adam snapped. "And you thought I'd just go along with it?" Lisa's tears turned to anger. "You don't understand how hard this has been for me," she shouted. I felt so alone, so unloved. Ryan gave me what you couldn't. Adam's jaw clenched. Get out, he said firmly. Lisa stared at him, stunned. What? You heard me. Pack your things and leave. You and Ryan can figure out your perfect little family without me. As Lisa packed her belongings, Adam's mind raced with thoughts of revenge. He couldn't let her and Ryan get away with what they had done. They had not only betrayed him, but also tried to manipulate him into a life built on lies. Adam didn't know exactly how he would make them pay, but one thing was certain. This wasn't over. Adam spent the night replaying every moment of his marriage, trying to figure out when things had gone so wrong. The betrayal by Lisa, someone he had trusted with every fiber of his being, cut deeper than he had ever thought possible. But the revelation of Ryan's involvement ignited something darker in him, a need to make them face the consequences of their actions. The next morning, Adam called in sick to work. He had no intention of spending the day immersed in spreadsheets and deadlines while his life lay in ruins. Instead, he devoted himself to uncovering every piece of information he could about Ryan and his relationship with Lisa. Sitting in his small home office, Adam pulled up Ryan's profile on social media. It didn't take long to find him. Ryan had a habit of sharing glimpses of his life, complete with polished captions and well-edited photos. One photo stood out immediately. Ryan and Lisa, standing too close for coworkers, their faces lit by the glow of candlelight. The caption read, "When life surprises you in the best way possible." It was dated 3 months ago, coinciding with the time Lisa had started acting distant. Adam scrolled further, his fury growing with every post. Ryan seemed to be living a double life. He frequently posted about his long hours at work and his dedication to the grind, but Adam could see through the carefully curated facade. Behind the professional veneer was a man who thrived on deception. But Adam wasn't content with surface-level discoveries. He needed something more concrete, something he could use. He delved into Ryan's connections, finding mutual acquaintances who might know more. It didn't take long to stumble upon a name that caught his attention. Sarah. Sarah was one of Lisa's close friends, though they had drifted apart in recent months. Adam remembered her as someone who didn't shy away from telling the truth, even when it wasn't what people wanted to hear. If anyone knew the details of Lisa's affair, it would be Sarah. He called her, his voice steady but urgent. "Sarah, it's Adam. I need to talk to you about Lisa." There was a pause on the other end before Sarah sighed. "I was wondering when you'd call. I've been keeping my distance because I didn't want to get involved, but I can't say I'm surprised." "Surprised about what?" Adam pressed. "About Lisa and Ryan," Sarah admitted. "I didn't agree with what she was doing, but she wouldn't listen to me. She said she wasn't happy and that Ryan made her feel alive." Adam's grip tightened on the phone. "Did you know they were planning to pass off his child as mine?" Sarah hesitated. "I didn't know that part. Lisa told me she was pregnant, but she avoided talking about who the father was. I had my suspicions, though." "Adam, I'm sorry. You didn't deserve this. Did she tell you anything else?" Adam asked, his voice low. "Only that they were planning something big," Sarah replied. "Lisa mentioned they were going to start fresh soon, but she didn't give me details." Adam thanked Sarah and hung up, his mind racing. Start fresh. The phrase echoed in his head. What were they planning? Later that day, Adam decided to confront Ryan directly. But he wasn't going to march into his office or call him on the phone. No, he had a more strategic plan. Using the information he had gathered online, Adam discovered that Ryan frequented a particular coffee shop near his office every Thursday morning. Adam arrived early, finding a corner seat where he could observe without being noticed. It wasn't long before Ryan walked in, his confident stride and smug demeanor making Adam's blood boil. Ryan ordered his coffee and sat at a table near the window, scrolling through his phone. Adam approached, his movements deliberate. "Ryan," he said, his voice calm but icy. Ryan looked up, surprised but not immediately alarmed. "Adam, right? Lisa's husband?" "Ex-husband, soon enough," Adam replied, pulling out the chair opposite Ryan and sitting down. Ryan raised an eyebrow, his smirk infuriatingly smug. "I take it Lisa told you." "Oh, she told me," Adam said, leaning forward, She told me how you've been sneaking around behind my back, how you're the father of her child, and how you both thought you could make me the fool." Ryan's smirk faltered for a moment before returning. "Look, Adam, I get that you're upset, but Lisa made her choice. She wasn't happy with you." Adam cut him off. "Save it. I'm not here for your excuses. I'm here to tell you that whatever plans you and Lisa have, they end now." Ryan leaned back, his confidence returning. "You can't stop us, Adam. Lisa's moving on, and so am I. You're just gonna have to deal with it." Adam stared at him, his expression unreadable. "You think this is over? You think you've won? You have no idea what you've started." Before Ryan could respond, Adam stood and walked out, leaving the other man visibly unsettled. That evening, Adam began putting his plan into action. He wasn't content with simply cutting Lisa out of his life. He wanted her and Ryan to understand the full extent of their betrayal, and he wanted them to pay. He started by contacting a private investigator, someone discreet and thorough. He needed evidence of their affair, not just for his own satisfaction but for the divorce proceedings. The investigator assured him that it wouldn't take long to gather what he needed. Adam also began preparing for a financial reckoning. As the primary earner in the marriage, he had been meticulous about tracking their finances. He knew Lisa had little understanding of their accounts, and he planned to use that to his advantage. But his most important move was yet to come. Adam wasn't just interested in exposing their affair. He wanted to dismantle the life they had tried to build together. In the weeks that followed, Adam's determination only grew. He kept his interactions with Lisa civil, never letting on that he was building a case against her. She seemed oblivious, believing she had the upper hand. But Adam knew the truth, and when the time was right, he would reveal everything. Adam's private investigator didn't waste time. Within a week, Adam received a neatly organized file containing damning evidence. Photographs of Lisa and Ryan in public, holding hands, sharing kisses, and looking every bit like a couple deeply in love, formed the bulk of it. But the investigator hadn't stopped there. There were receipts from luxury restaurants and hotels where they had met, text messages recovered from Ryan's phone, and even recordings of their conversations in which they openly discussed Adam's supposed obliviousness and their plans for a new beginning. Adam's blood boiled as he reviewed the evidence. But instead of letting rage consume him, he allowed it to sharpen his focus. This was no longer about heartbreak or betrayal. It was about justice and retribution. On a cool Thursday morning, Adam sat in his lawyer's office, presenting the file. His attorney, Ellen, a no-nonsense professional with a reputation for dismantling opponents in court, flipped through the documents, her expression unreadable. "This is gold," Ellen finally said, closing the folder. "Not only does this give you an ironclad case for the divorce, but with this level of deception, you can contest her attempts to claim any financial support. And if they've been using your joint funds to finance their little escapades." She trailed off, raising an eyebrow. Adam nodded. "That's exactly what I was thinking. I want her to leave this marriage with nothing." Ellen smiled, a sharp, predatory smile. "Then let's make it happen." Back at home, Adam began setting the stage for his next move. Lisa remained oblivious, caught up in her whirlwind romance with Ryan. She still came home every evening, though her attention was clearly elsewhere. Adam, meanwhile, played the role of the indifferent husband, not giving her any reason to suspect that he was building a case against her. One evening, while Lisa was out at a friend's house, Adam invited Ryan over. The invitation was delivered through a carefully worded text. "Let's talk man-to-man. No drama, just clarity." Ryan, predictably, couldn't resist the opportunity to gloat. When he arrived, Adam greeted him with surprising calmness. The two men sat across from each other in the living room, the tension thick in the air. "So," Ryan began, leaning back smugly, "what's this about? You finally ready to let go?" Adam smiled, a calm, unnerving smile. "I just wanted to make sure you understand what's coming." Ryan frowned. "What do you mean?" Adam leaned forward, his voice dropping to a chillingly low tone. "You think you've won. You think you can take my wife, my life, and leave me with nothing. But you don't know me, Ryan. You don't know what I'm capable of. Ryan scoffed, though his confidence wavered. You can't scare me, Adam. Lisa's already chosen me. Oh, I'm not trying to scare you, Adam replied, standing and walking to the nearby table. He picked up a stack of papers and handed them to Ryan. I'm just giving you a preview. Ryan flipped through the pages, his face draining of color as he realized what he was looking at. Photos of him and Lisa, copies of the receipts, and the text messages. Where did you get these? Ryan stammered. Adam's smile widened. It doesn't matter. What matters is what I'm going to do with them. Ryan stood abruptly, slamming the papers on the table. You can't prove anything. You're just bitter because Lisa doesn't want you anymore. Adam laughed, a cold, humorless sound. We'll see what a judge thinks about that. Oh, and just so you know, this isn't just about the divorce. You might want to check your bank accounts. Ryan stormed out, but Adam wasn't done. The next morning, he moved forward with the final step of his plan, exposing Lisa and Ryan's affair publicly. Using the evidence he had collected, Adam created an anonymous email account and sent the file to everyone in Lisa and Ryan's professional circles. The subject line was simple but devastating. For your information. Within hours, the fallout began. Ryan's workplace, a prestigious tech firm with a strict policy on personal conduct, launched an internal investigation. Lisa, who worked in a connected industry, found herself the subject of whispers and side glances. Adam didn't stop there. He also shared the evidence with their families. Lisa's parents, who had always seen Adam as the perfect son-in-law, were furious. They called Lisa immediately, demanding answers. You've humiliated us, her mother yelled over the phone. How could you do this to Adam? To your marriage? Lisa, cornered and overwhelmed, tried to defend herself, but the damage was done. By the end of the week, Lisa's carefully constructed world was crumbling. She came home one evening, her face pale and her eyes red from crying. How could you do this to me? She demanded as soon as she stepped inside. Adam, who was sitting calmly in the living room, looked up. Do what? Hold you accountable for your actions. You ruined my life, Lisa screamed. No, Adam replied evenly. You ruined your life when you decided to betray me. All I did was make sure everyone knew the truth. Lisa stared at him, her chest heaving. For the first time, she looked truly scared. What are you going to do next? She whispered. Adam stood, walking over to her. He leaned in close, his voice cold and firm. I'm going to make sure you and Ryan regret this for the rest of your lives. The storm was far from over, but Adam felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had been betrayed in the worst possible way, but he wasn't the kind of man to roll over and accept defeat. Lisa and Ryan had underestimated him. Now they would face the full consequences of their actions. The fallout from Adam's carefully orchestrated plan was swift and merciless. By the time Lisa fully grasped the extent of the damage, it was too late to contain it. Ryan had already been suspended from his job, pending a formal review of his conduct. His once bright career in the tech industry was on the verge of collapse. Lisa, too, had become a pariah in her professional network. Potential clients stopped calling, colleagues avoided her, and whispers followed her wherever she went. But the worst was yet to come. Lisa burst through the front door late one evening, her face a mixture of fury and desperation. Adam was sitting in his usual spot on the couch, calmly sipping a cup of tea, as though her chaos didn't concern him. Adam, you need to stop this, she cried, her voice trembling. You've made your point, okay? You've ruined everything. Just leave it alone. Adam looked at her, his expression unreadable. Ruined everything? Lisa, I didn't ruin anything. You and Ryan did that all on your own. I get it, all right? You're angry, but this has gone too far. Ryan's losing his job, and my parents won't even talk to me anymore. Do you even care what this is doing to me? Adam leaned back, setting his mug down on the table. Did you care what it was doing to me when you were sneaking around behind my back? Did you care when you decided to humiliate me by parading your affair with my cousin? No, Lisa, I'm not stopping. Not until you understand the pain you've caused. Lisa's hands clenched into fists. You're sick, she spat. I made a mistake, but you're acting like some kind of monster. Adam chuckled coldly. A monster? No, Lisa. I'm just a man who's done being taken for a fool. Meanwhile, Ryan was unraveling. The anonymous email Adam had sent to Ryan's company had triggered more than an internal investigation. Several co-workers came forward with additional allegations about Ryan's inappropriate behavior at work. Combined with the evidence of his affair with Lisa, it was enough to get him terminated within days. Ryan tried to reach Lisa, but she avoided his calls. Her own life was in shambles, and she couldn't handle his anger on top of everything else. But Adam, always one step ahead, made sure they couldn't escape each other for long. Using a fake social media account, Adam leaked more details of their affair to a local community forum, ensuring their neighbors and friends knew the full extent of their betrayal. The post went viral within hours, leaving Lisa and Ryan no safe space to retreat to. They were the subject of ridicule, condemnation, and even thinly veiled threats from people who sympathized with Adam. Lisa and Ryan finally met up in secret at a small cafe on the edge of town, hoping to strategize their way out of the mess. Lisa wore oversized sunglasses and a scarf, her hands trembling as she sipped her coffee. Ryan looked disheveled, his normally confident demeanor replaced by a sullen, angry energy. This is your fault, Ryan hissed, leaning across the table. If you'd been more careful, none of this would have happened. My fault, Lisa shot back, her voice rising. You're the one who couldn't keep your mouth shut. All those texts, those hotel bookings. How could you be so careless? They glared at each other, their partnership crumbling under the weight of their own decisions. A few tables away, a man discreetly took photos of their heated exchange and sent them to Adam. He had hired the man to keep tabs on them, ensuring they couldn't make a move without him knowing. Back at home, Adam was already preparing his next step. Ellen, his attorney, had been relentless in building the legal case. With the evidence Adam provided, Lisa's attempts to claim spousal support were obliterated. The court documents painted a clear picture of her infidelity and deceit, leaving her with little leverage. Lisa's financial situation quickly deteriorated. She had been relying on Adam's steady income to maintain her lifestyle, and now, with her professional reputation destroyed, she was struggling to pay even her basic bills. Desperate, she reached out to her parents, but they refused to help her, citing their disappointment in her actions. Ryan wasn't faring much better. With his job gone and his reputation ruined, he was forced to move back into his parents' basement, a far cry from the luxury lifestyle he had once envisioned with Lisa. One evening, Lisa showed up at Adam's house unannounced. She was a shadow of her former self, her makeup smudged, her hair unkempt, and her eyes red from crying. Adam, she pleaded, standing on the porch. Please, can we just talk? Adam didn't respond right away. He stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. Finally, he stepped aside, allowing her in. They sat across from each other in the living room, the silence heavy between them. Lisa fidgeted with her hands, avoiding his gaze. I'm sorry, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. For everything, for what I did to you. I was selfish and stupid, and I ruined everything. Adam's jaw tightened, but he didn't interrupt her. I don't expect you to forgive me, Lisa continued. I wanted to tell you that I know I deserve everything that's happened. I know I hurt you. Adam leaned forward, his eyes cold. You're right. You don't deserve forgiveness. But here's the thing, Lisa. This isn't about you anymore. You made your choices, and now you're living with the consequences. That's not my problem. Lisa's shoulders slumped, tears streaming down her face. I loved you, Adam. I still do. Adam stood, his voice firm. No, Lisa. You loved the life I gave you, but you didn't love me enough to protect what we had. And now it's gone. He walked to the door, opening it for her. Goodbye, Lisa. As she stepped out into the night, Adam felt a strange sense of closure. For the first time since the betrayal, he felt free. Lisa wandered down the darkened street after leaving Adam's house, the weight of everything she had lost pressing on her shoulders. The apology she had mustered, born out of desperation and regret, had been futile. She had hoped for a glimmer of mercy from Adam, but instead, she was left with the bitter truth. There was no going back. But as she walked, Lisa's despair began to fester into something darker. Humiliation, ruin, and loss consumed her thoughts, and a dangerous resolve began to form. If Adam thought he had won, she was determined to prove him wrong. Back at Adam's house, the man sat alone in his living room, the cool satisfaction of his victories tempered by a deep exhaustion. Revenge had given him closure, but it hadn't filled the hollow space Lisa's betrayal had left. As he stared at the family photo still sitting on the mantelpiece, he debated putting it away for good. His phone buzzed, interrupting his thoughts. It was a text from Ellen, his attorney. Settlement finalized. You're officially free. Adam exhaled, relief coursing through him. Finally, the legal battle was over. The divorce was complete, and Lisa had been left with the bare minimum. No spousal support, no claims to his assets, and no sympathy from the court. Adam smiled bitterly. Justice had been served. The next morning, Adam woke to find a message on his phone from an unknown number. The text read, "You think you've won, but this isn't over." His stomach tightened. Though the number wasn't saved, he could guess who it was from. Lisa. Ignoring the message, Adam went about his day, determined not to let her desperation disrupt his newfound peace. But as the days passed, more messages followed. Each one grew more erratic and unhinged, ranging from pleas for forgiveness to threats of revenge. Adam blocked the number, but the messages began arriving through email and fake social media accounts. He confided in Ellen, who advised him to document everything. "If she crosses the line, we'll have evidence to press charges," she said firmly. Meanwhile, Lisa had taken refuge at Ryan's place. It was a small, dingy apartment far removed from the luxury she had once enjoyed. Ryan, too, was bitter. His career was in shambles, his reputation in ruins, and he blamed Lisa for dragging him into her mess. "This is all your fault," he snapped one night as they argued. "If you hadn't been so careless, none of this would have happened." "My fault," Lisa shot back. "You were just as involved as I was. Don't act like you're some innocent victim." Their partnership, once fueled by passion and excitement, had devolved into mutual resentment. It didn't take long for Ryan to pack his bags and leave, leaving Lisa alone in her misery. Lisa's spiral continued. Her days were spent obsessing over Adam, replaying their last conversation in her mind, and plotting ways to regain control. Her bitterness turned to rage, and she began to fixate on the idea of taking back what she believed was hers. One night, Lisa drove to Adam's house, parking a few blocks away. She sat in the car, watching the windows glow warmly from within. She could see Adam through the curtains, sitting on the couch with a cup of tea, his expression calm and content. The sight of his peace infuriated her. Grabbing a small crowbar she had brought along, Lisa crept toward the house, her pulse pounding in her ears. She reached the back door and carefully worked the crowbar into the frame. But as she pried it open, a piercing alarm blared through the night. Lisa froze, panic overtaking her. Inside, Adam leapt to his feet at the sound of the alarm. He grabbed his phone and called the police, his heart racing. Through the window, he caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure running from the house. When the police arrived, Adam explained the situation and handed over footage from his home security cameras. The grainy footage clearly showed Lisa attempting to break in. "This is harassment," the officer said, his tone serious. "You should consider filing for a restraining order." Adam nodded, his face grim. He had hoped Lisa would eventually accept the consequences of her actions and move on, but it was clear she wasn't going to let go without a fight. The next day, Adam filed for the restraining order with Ellen's help. He also changed his locks, added more cameras to his property, and made it clear to mutual acquaintances that he wanted no further contact with Lisa. Lisa, however, was undeterred. She began spreading lies about Adam online, accusing him of abuse and manipulation. While most people saw through her desperate attempts to tarnish his reputation, a few believed her, adding fuel to her fire. Despite Lisa's attempts to provoke him, Adam stayed focused on rebuilding his life. He threw himself into work, started attending therapy, and even began dating again. The woman he met, Claire, was a kind and supportive presence, a stark contrast to the chaos Lisa had brought into his life. Claire knew about Adam's past and encouraged him to move forward without letting Lisa's actions define him. "You've already taken back control," she told him one evening. "Don't let her live rent-free in your head." The final blow came when Lisa's smear campaign backfired. Her false accusations against Adam were traced back to her, and she faced legal consequences for defamation and harassment. Her remaining supporters abandoned her, leaving her completely isolated. For Adam, it was the ultimate vindication. He had weathered the storm, and now he stood stronger than ever. On a quiet evening months later, Adam and Claire sat together on the porch, watching the sunset. For the first time in a long while, Adam felt at peace. The scars Lisa had left would always be there, but they no longer defined him. He had turned his pain into strength, his loss into a lesson, and his betrayal into a stepping stone toward a better future. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, Adam knew he was finally free.